any background noise. I've just clicked the recording button, so that means that we are recording this 30-minute webinar. So welcome. This webinar, we are talking about the new announcement that Chest has made with TermSet to help universities and colleges become GDPR ready at a 50% discount off the TermSet product. A bit about me. My name is Stuart Connors. I'm the CEO and co-founder of TermSet. We are a UK software company. Been around 4 years, and we've just been working the past 4 to 5 months with Chest around putting together and announcing this new Chest agreement. The webinar is 30 minutes long. So let's crack on and see what we have in store for you. So just talk about the agenda. As I mentioned, this is a 30-minute webinar. We are recording it, so if any of your colleagues couldn't make it today, we can happily send them the recording for them. So we're going to cover today in 30 minutes, what is the agreement? What does it mean to universities and colleges? What is the GDPR challenge that you may be facing based on our experience with other customers? Also talk about the solution. So how do we help and how does Chest help? We'll give you a very quick high-level product demonstration. We'll talk about the new pricing that we've negotiated with Chest for universities and colleges, and then we'll talk about how to purchase. What I've done is, for this webinar, I have muted you all, but at the end of the webinar, myself and Ben, who's joined us from Chest, will be on the call at the end to take any questions if you have them. You can either pop them in the chat window, or by all means, we can arrange a follow-up session with you where you could quite happily email us your questions. So what is the agreement? What are we talking about today? So just to break that down, Chest has been working with TermSet. We are a software company, and we have now negotiated a 3-year agreement that allows all universities and colleges across the UK to purchase the TermSet ScanR software product. So we've built a software product, which I'll come into more detail, that is aimed around GDPR compliancy, and the license cost has been discounted by 50% via Chest. The Chest agreement started on the 1st of February, and it lasts for 3 years. So ScanR is a software product that helps organizations comply with the new European General Data Protection Regulation, otherwise known as GDPR, and it helps organizations avoid potential security breaches and substantial fines. ScanR is a software product, a low-cost software product that uses forms of artificial intelligence. The product understands your organization's personal sensitive data. And what that means is it will automate the process for you and quickly respond to any right to be forgotten or subject access requests. So before I talk about the product in more detail, I just want to talk through one slide which we call the challenge slide. So I'm assuming most of you on the call would have heard about the new GDPR regulation. I won't go into the detail today, but at a high level, GDPR is a new legislation that comes into effect in the 25th of May of this year, and it's basically a replacement to the existing data protection law, and it's all around aimed at companies or organisations, private or public, that trade within the EU, and it's having to make them focus on identifying and retrieving personal information around your employees, your students, your customers, and that information is anything that's seen as personal about that individual. That could be a name, their address, their financial details, medical conditions, blood group, religion, anything that's seen as a personal information about that individual. And there are a number of fines and breaches associated with not complying with those. I won't go into those today, but I assume most of you have heard there are some pretty horrendous potential fines being mentioned in the press around GDPR. But I guess, what does it really mean to an organisation or an education site in Europe? What it really means is what our customers are really worried about is two things really. The first thing is the new change to the current subject access requests. As you know, these, as we call them, SARs aren't new. They've been around for a long time. But what's changing with a SAR is, as of May, if you receive a SAR in the future now, your response time will decrease from 40 days down to 30 days. And again, if you don't respond to that SAR in that given time and you don't provide the right information, then there is a potential breach that you may experience from the ICO, who are the UK government body managing the GDPR regulation. The other new law, this is a brand new law that is really keeping customers awake at night, is this one that's called the right to be forgotten, right to be removed rule. And this is a brand new law that comes in as part of GDPR, and this basically gives power to any employees you have, current or legacy employees, any customers, or in your case, any students. They have the ability now and the right to request that you identify and retrieve any information that you hold around them across your IT systems. So any information that you hold on an employee, a customer, or a student, they have the right to request that information that you hold on them. And again, you have a certain period of time to respond to that. And again, if you don't respond to that information, there are some potential breaches or fines, or worst case, some bad publicity your organization may face from not complying with that. So that they're the kind of what we see, that the challenges around GDPR as a new regulation. So what does this really mean from an organization, from a university or a college perspective, or an organization perspective? What this means is that studies tell us that 80% of most employees or students' information is stored in Office structured or unstructured documents. So what does that mean? So a structured content is maybe a database or a CRM system where you are entering information into fields. So by nature, it's structured. But most employees and students are creating content in maybe Word, Excel, PowerPoint, these are seen as unstructured documents. Employees and students are storing information in typically in approved and non-approved IT systems. So what this means is, as an IT department in your college or university, you've probably got approved systems that IT have purchased for you. Things like file shares, maybe using SharePoint, maybe moving to O365. So that's great, and your students and staff are storing content in there, and that's great. But what we are seeing is a lot of employees and students are also using systems outside of IT. So what we call shadow IT. This is where they're using consumer systems to store information, products like Dropbox and Google Drive. So what this means is you have students and employees storing lots of content as part of their job, which is great. So they're creating IP, but unfortunately, a lot of that IP or content is in unstructured information and is stored in sometimes approved systems or sometimes non-approved systems. And just to kind of finish up this slide for you, there was a survey carried out last year, May of last year, which highlights even before GDPR was kicked in, there are a number of companies that have had breaches. You probably read in the press, people like TalkTalk and Deloitte and TUI. It seems every week now a company of some sort is being called out from a document data breach. So some interesting stats here. Almost half of companies had a document breach in the UK in the past 2 years. A lot of employees and students are accidentally exposing information stored within documents. So they're not doing this intentionally, but it's just I guess the way they work and an effect of that. And most companies, when they receive a subject access request today, most of those companies claim they are unable to locate that sensitive data. We had one customer, it takes them typically 60 to 90 days to find data when they receive a subject access request. Also, interestingly, I read last week in Computer Weekly, it said that I think over a third of UK citizens will exercise their right in May to submit subject access requests to their banks, to their building societies, to their companies that they trade business with. So I think it's there was a serious challenge around the new GDPR regulation. So that's the challenge slide. The next slide I will talk about is how do we solve that problem as a company working with Chest. So TermSet, we're a UK software company. We've built some software that we call ScanR. ScanR is a on-premise solution that you install as an application in your IT estate. So it's not a cloud-based application. You install it on a application server or a desktop PC. And as a product, its intent is it discovers any GDPR sensitive data, or this term we use, personal identifiable information. The term is PII. So we discover any sensitive information and any PII information across all types of structured and unstructured documents stored within numerous systems, whether they're file shares, SharePoint, OneDrive, Dropbox, databases, and email, etc. At a high level, here are some of the features. So, as I mentioned before, the product helps clients and organizations automate the process and quickly respond to right to be forgotten or subject access requests. The product can read all versions of Word, Excel, PowerPoint, PDF, photocopies, images, and emails with attachments. The product understands all global languages. So whether documents have been written in Japanese, French, or German, or English, we're able to understand any language that's in the document. The product contains a comprehensive global keyword rules engine library. I'll come on to that later. You're also able to create your own keywords, as well as the keywords we give you in our engine library. The product includes a form of AI, which includes pattern matching. That ensures keyword accuracy when you scan documents for sensitive data. We're also able to score the sensitive words that you find based on the level of exposure. Again, I'll come on to that in more detail later. We can convert all photocopies or scanned documents into OCR. So what that means is when we come across an image or a photocopy or a scanned PDF in your file shares or your repositories, we will on the fly OCR that. OCR means optical character recognition, and that basically turns that image into readable text. So that means we're then able to identify all the sensitive keywords in those images or photocopies. And another side feature of the product is we're also able to identify and remove any duplicate files that you have. We're also able to understand the attributes of files by the data size and the last modified date. So that's a high-level slide of the features of the product. I'm now going to explain just a quick level diagram view of how the product hangs together. So, as I mentioned, ScanR is a software product that you install locally within your IT estate. It's not a cloud-based product. It's an application you install on your application server or on a VM box or on a desktop or a PC. And then ScanR, basically, you connect it to your multiple systems where your documents are stored. So here's an example of some of the systems that we currently connect to today. So we can connect ScanR to documents that you may store in a file share. You may be using Office 365. You may be using SharePoint. Your students or staff may be using Dropbox or Google Drive or OneDrive. We're also able now to connect to emails and emails that contain attachments. And then ScanR points to your file systems. It then reads the documents in those file systems, and we're able to read any version of Office, right back to Office 97. So we can read any version of Word, Excel, PowerPoint. We're also able to read any version of PDF. As I mentioned before, if we come across an image or a photocopy or a scanned PDF, we will OCR that on the fly and convert that text and then read out and identify the personal information in those images. So if you have an example, if you have lots of students' IDs where you photocopied over the years for proof of ID, you may have drawers full of students' passport copies. Then we're able to OCR those photocopies and pull out the text in those photocopies. So the name, the passport number, the start and expiry date. And that OCR feature is a free feature within our product that you can activate or deactivate. I just saw a question pop up. We're able to activate that or non-activate that as and when you want to do a scan. So it means any document we see, Office document or image or photocopy, we can pull out the sensitive data from those documents. And then once ScanR has trawled your documents and found the sensitive data, it then presents that back to you in a series of reports that enables you to visualize what you found and then drill into the data. So if you ever receive a right to be forgotten or a subject access request, you can respond to that extremely quickly. So I'm now going to spend the next 5 minutes, 10 minutes just showing you a quick high-level demo of the product. And the product does really in effect two things when you do a scan. It asks you where to look for sensitive data and then what to look for. What are the keywords you want to look for? So what we're seeing here on the screen now is this is the actual user interface of our product ScanR. ScanR is able to, it's been designed to allow non-IT people to run scans on behalf of your organization. And the first thing we do is we create a new configuration. So the first thing is we ask ScanR, what systems do you want it to point at to look for content? So we're now going to ask ScanR to, in this example, find documents in a file share. So we create a new configuration. We enter the file share path name we want to look for. If we're looking for maybe content in a SharePoint platform or an O365 platform, we enter the O365 tenant name or the SharePoint team site name or platform. You can see here that the product is fully locked down by security, so we're asked to enter or create a username or password, so only certain people in your organization can have access to ScanR. So we've now asked ScanR to point to a file share and a SharePoint platform. The next thing we ask ScanR to do is, what are the keywords we want it to find in those documents in those two systems? So now we're asking ScanR to identify certain keywords in those repositories. So what you're seeing on the screen now is our product ships with a rules engine library that contains 100 plus sensitive keywords. And these keywords we basically gathered from around the world as well as the UK. So on the left here, you can see our rules engine library. So these are the keywords that you would choose and then drag to the right hand side column. So in this example, we're going to ask ScanR to find documents that contain people's bank account numbers, their credit card numbers, people's names, credit card expiry dates, their email addresses, their postcodes, and their street addresses. Now, although the product contains an extensive list of keywords, I mentioned at the start of the call, our product uses a form of AI we call pattern matching. So this pattern matching relates to when you're looking for people's names or organization names or other information. So for example, when we have the word person, so when you're looking to find people's names in documents, we don't contain everyone's name on the planet, but using pattern matching, our product is able to recognize people's names within documents by the pattern. We're also able to recognize countries by the pattern and company names by the pattern. So using a form of pattern matching, we are able to identify certain keywords that you may have missed from scanning documents. The personal example is if you want to find documents that contain the name John Smith. Obviously, when you type in John Smith, we can find John Smith. But if it's been spelled J Smith or John S, we will still pick that up because we recognize that J Smith is also a pattern of someone's name. So to summarize this, we ship with an extensive rules engine library, but we also, using pattern matching, are able to have a high success rate of scanning people's names and other information within documents. We're also able to, you're also able to edit and add your own keywords to the rules engine library. So in this example, you can see that we're also able to create our own keywords. So you may want to, as a university or college, you may want to find all the documents that contain maybe pupils' ID numbers. And in your organization, every pupil has the same pattern of a pupil ID number. It could be 5 digits long, 3 numbers and 2 letters. So in this example, you were able to, in this example, we're using the example of a credit card. So we're going to create a new rule. We're going to call it credit card. Description is credit card numbers, and we know that all credit card numbers are always 16 numbers long, 4 space, 4 space, 4 space. So in an example of a student ID number, you would give the rule a name of student ID, and you would put in the pattern of that student ID number. So every time ScanR sees that pattern of letters or numbers in those documents, we will present it back as a student ID number. So we're able to summarize this slide, we're able to create our own keywords and add our own keywords to the search engine library. In the top right, you see the word rule weight. So we're also able to add a weight or an attribute based on the sensitivity of that keyword. So we've now asked ScanR to search for documents in a file share and a SharePoint. We've chosen some keywords to look for. We've also created some of our own keywords to look for. We now hit scan. Scanner goes off. It will read all the documents and look for those keywords you've asked it to look for. When you first run a scan, Scanner will obviously read every document in your system. When you run ScanR on subsequent scans thereafter, we will only read the new changes or the delta in the document since the last scan. So we don't run a 100% scan every time. We only read the changes in the subsequent scans. So we now get a report back that says, well, here's the information that we found. We can see the scans have been run successfully. We can see that the time it took to run the scans. We can see some of the scoring based on the attributes that we put for the keywords. And like any report, we're now able to drill into an example of one of these documents. So if we choose one of the documents in the report, we can see that this document, it found someone's credit card number that occurred twice in the document. The number on the back, the CVV number has appeared twice, and the expiry date has also appeared twice. And we can see that we've also attributed a score towards each of those scans of 10 points each. And then, like any report, we're able to ingest these reports into an Excel spreadsheet. So here we're seeing an Excel spreadsheet of a scan we ran. So here we can see the documents that we read. We can see the rules that we asked it to look for and the values, and we can see the scoring on the right-hand column based on the attributes we scored for each document containing each sensitive word based on its sensitivity rating. Now, the reports are presented into a database. That database, you're able to ingest those reports into an Excel spreadsheet, or if you are a user of any BI dashboard tools like maybe Power BI or ClickSense, we're also able to ingest those reports into dashboards where you're now able to really visualize and drill into the data. So in this example, we're showing this is a dashboard report. So we're showing that we've read 3 data sources. We've read a file share and 2 SharePoint platforms. We can say that we can see the documents that were found. We found 19,000 documents that contain GDPR information. We're now able to drill into that information. So we're now able to say, well, give me all the documents that contain either people's email addresses or their credit card numbers or their medical records. And like any dashboard, we're able now to drill into the information and just slice and dice that information at a visual presentation layer. If any customers on the call today are using or moving to SharePoint, this is a SharePoint view. So when we ran ScanR on a SharePoint library, ScanR will create 3 new columns in your SharePoint library. So in this example, we've read these Office documents and PDFs in a SharePoint library, and then ScanR presents these 3 new columns. The first column is a GDPR match column. What documents have we read contain GDPR information, true or false? Second column is what information did we find in those documents that contain the sensitive keywords we asked it to look for. And then the last column is what was the score based on the score attributes we wanted to give each keyword. So the top document, you can see the banking document, we've seen that we found some GDPR information, and it's found someone's bank details and their credit card number, and we scored that 20%. So that's a very high level product demonstration for you. I'm now going to talk about how we help you with GDPR and talk about the pricing and next steps. So this slide is an OCI slide. ICO is the Information Government Office for GDPR. So these are the UK independent government body, and they talk about these 12 steps that help companies become GDPR ready. So these are the 12 steps on the slide you can see here today. You're able to download this slide, this particular infographic from the ICO website. The reason why I show this is because TermSet were able to help you achieve 2 of the steps. So the first step we help you with is step 2, helping you understand the information that you hold in your systems. And we help you with step 5, which is the subject access request process. There's also, if you have a chance to read the actual GDPR documentation, which you can find on this web link, you'll see it contains 11 chapters, and in those 11 chapters there are 99 articles. And in those articles, if you were to invest in our product ScanR, ScanR will help you comply with the following articles contained in the GDPR regulation documentation. And these articles are broken down here for you on the slide deck. Again, I'm happy to share the slide deck with you after the call. So I want to talk about pricing now, then we're almost finished. So the way we priced the product is it's an annual subscription. And you can see that we've negotiated a 50% discount from our list pricing, which you can purchase via Chest. And the way we've broken the pricing down is into a university or college size. So on the far left, you can see the institution size. So if you're a small college or a small university, we base the small, medium or large based on your student count. So this is based on full-time students. So if you're a small college with up to 3,000 students, you will pay 1,500 for an annual license, and that gives you unlimited scans during that year. And all pricing includes software, it includes support, and it includes unlimited users. There is no need to purchase any infrastructure or hardware. If you're a medium customer, so if you're a medium university or college and you have between 3,000 and 10,000 students, then you'll pay 3,999 per year for the license. And then as you can see, if you're a larger organization, 20,000 more students, the license fee is just under £8,000 for the year. Again, unlimited scans for that year, and that's based on the data size. And if you've got 20 or 1,000 more, we have a £10,000 license fee, and that's pretty much unlimited. So 20,000 or more students, you pay $999, and that's an unlimited license. And at the bottom of the slide, you can see because these are annual prices, if you are happy to commit to a 3-year agreement, we would also discount those prices for you by an extra 15%. So almost finished. So in summary, what I've shown you today hopefully is how ScanR as a software product will help you via Chest automate the process for discovering sensitive data. We have a 3-year agreement via the Chest organization. What this means is the software will help you respond to subjects of request and might to be forgotten requests. Helps towards achieving 2 of the ICO 12 steps to GDPR readiness. Helps you comply with 13 of the 99 articles contained within the GDPR documentation. And that's my presentation today. I've run over by 3 minutes, so I apologise for that. But this is my last slide. So how to purchase, how to move forward. So I've shown on the screen here is here is a link to the Chess website. So this link will show you all the information that I've presented today. It will also reconfirm back to you the pricing details and how to purchase. However, if you have any further questions, or if you require a bit more detail, you want to ask some more questions, or maybe have a more of a detailed demonstration of the product to you and your technical team, please reach out to Ben Offiller at Chest. His email is on the screen now. Or please reach out to myself. My email is on the screen, stuart@termset.com. What I'll do is I will share the slide deck with you all. I'll also forward you the video recording of the webinar as well. I just saw in the chat box that we have some questions, so I'm now going to see if I can find those questions in my chat window. So just bear with me 2 secs, guys. Okay, so one question from Andrew McFarlane: can the OCR on the fly be activated? The answer is yes. The reason why we include the OCR feature is, as I mentioned, a lot of clients have images or photocopies of scanned images they want to also pull out sensitive data from. So we've built a free of charge feature that allows you to pull out that data from those documents. And obviously to achieve that, we need to OCR them initially. But yes, you can deactivate the OCR feature. Russell Bevan has a question: can ScanR access SQL databases? The answer is yes. What I would say is, when I showed you the diagram slide where I showed you some of the systems that we can connect to, they are the market leading systems that we can connect to today. If your database or your system isn't on that screen, on that diagram, then it's provided it has an API or web connection, we can pretty much connect to most systems. So we can connect to SQL and most databases. However, if you've got an old platform where you saw documents in that may not be up to date, or is a bit of a Quango system, please let me know, and we can certainly scope out our requirements to connect to your system. But yes, we can connect to SQL databases is the answer, Russell. James Eaglesfield has asked a question: is there a limit on the number of files that can be scanned? The answer is no. As I mentioned, our pricing is based on the size of data or the number of students you have in your college or university. So no, there isn't a limit to number of files that can be scanned, providing you are within your employee count base or data size. Then you have unlimited scans, unlimited documents based on your license term. Ben from Chester just wanted to reconfirm that when I talked through the pricing slide, I did mention there's a 15% discount for any customers that will sign for a 3-year agreement. That 3-year agreement is based on an upfront payment. So to get the extra 15% discount on the pricing that I showed you on the slide, you'd need to pay for the 3 years upfront to receive your additional 15% discount. So guys, that's the end of my presentation. Thanks for your time. Look forward to speaking to you all in the future. As I mentioned, as you can see on the screen, today here, please reach out to myself or to Ben, and look forward to hearing from you. I will, as I mentioned, email the slides to you and the recording. Thanks for your time. Thank you.